So just waiting to do the 18-minute short qualifying session. Damn, I am very unprepared today. All right, here we go. SRL round 20, season 9, Mexico. We're going to run down the driver list here once we get on track. F1 2023 on the PS platform. I promise I'll get better here in a minute. All right, well, sorry about the technical difficulties, but here we go. We are going to get going here. 18-minute short qualifying session followed by a 50% race. And how many more races we got to go? What are we doing, 23 events this season?
This is a big season of 23 events. Yes, Miami, Japan, Brazil to round out after today in Mexico.
And 17 drivers participating today's race. Let's get some lap data, track map. Good old Mexico. Always an interesting track. High elevation. The front straightaway is like 3/4 of a mile long or something like that. Mile long, something ridiculous.
Yeah, one of the few 3 DRS zones tracks, I think, in the season.
All right. Looks like we got a couple of guys getting ready to head out.
The the Alpha, outdated livery at this point of Nicolo Falzaresi, always one of the first out there.
So, updated 2024 livery on the Alfa Romeo. And Falzaresi still fighting for second in the championship, correct?
I think Nico is certainly going to be the presumptive favorite, especially with Logan. At this point, I don't think Logan's going to be back this season. But Nico did move up 1 point over Logan after the last round. Alexei Koivuniemi only 12 points back, so certainly Alexei could find a way to get into second position behind Jenson Randall.
So there is still a championship points battle going on for second place between Alexei and Nicolo Falzaresi. Jenson Randall was your champion. He sealed that up 2 rounds ago, round 18. Locked that championship up, then won last time out at Singapore. Drove an amazing race from back to front. As we get ready to jump on board with Nicolo Falzaresi, he'll be the first driver to start a hot lap here. We've already got a caution flag flying in Sector 3. Down this very long front straightaway. Go ahead.
Yeah, just this first turn so important. The exit of turn 1 important for turns 2 and 3. Right there you see Nico. You want to stay kind of in the middle. It can be funky, and this track in general just has a lot of quick lefts and rights. Another one coming up here for Nico. Turns 4 and 5, and the weird double apex of turn 6, which is where I always lose it. Right here, it's going to be just such a long turn. It feels like it's almost 2 and not just 1.
And then we have these very, very complicated S's that a lot of time can be gained and lost through these S's, especially this section here, what Falzaresi is going through right now. And Jenson Randall has been disqualified from qualifying, parked in a dangerous section.
I think that was a bit of an intentional way of getting out of the qualifying session for Jenson. I think last to first is the idea again.
So Falzarezzi coming out of the final corner, out onto the front straightaway. He's going to set the first time of day, a 1:16.4.
So the first car on the track, Nico, so there's only going to be more track evolution as the session goes on, but I always like that Nico gets out there early so he has the most information to work with when it comes to finding out if he has to go back out there again, and if so, when he should go back out there.
So the two Williams have qualified at a 1:17.9 and a 1:17.5. Not their best efforts, I'm sure. Robin Herterstegen has invalidated his lap. Looks like the other Alfa Romeo of Noel is out on course heading through the S's now. You can pick him up down the back straightaway and into the stadium section for the old baseball stadium. And Borbune has set a time 1:18. Sam Brandt 1:18. Right now, nobody's holding a candle to Nicola Falzarezzi's time. Here comes Noel across the line, and he goes third quickest with a 1:17.7. You see Oleski set a time of a 1:21.9. I'm sure he ran into some traffic or was off the pace.
Yeah,
kind of surprised by some of these times.
Yeah, I think for Alexi, he ran on inters, I think just checking the setup, but it is kind of shocking how far ahead Falzarezzi is from the rest of the pack right now.
I'm going to pick up Sandro Dulius. He's currently heading through the S's and down the back straightaway. A little deep into the stadium section as we ride on board with him.
Sandro made it clear he hates the stadium section of this track, one of his least favorites on the season. And I have a feeling it's that funky turn 12 that kind of really turns into the infield of the old stadium. It's slightly downhill, you feel like you're losing grip, and it's so easy to just bottle the whole lap right at the end.
Well, a 1:16.450, so he's only half of a tenth off of provisional poles. We pick up Nick Van Gelder, who's just coming across the line now to start a hot lap. Ooh, season 4 champion using all of the track and lost it going into turn 1. So he looks very, very loose. And Nick generally likes a loose handling race car, but even that might be a little much for him to handle.
Yeah, he was way wide on the curb, and I guess just completely lost all grip. But as you say, he likes a loose car, and this is generally considered to be a low wing race. So not a lot of downforce and not a lot of snap for Nick, I think.
So Tim Ventic sets the third fastest time with a 1:16.5. So season 5 champion is trying to get up there with the front runners. We're currently watching Dion Stahl is who I'm on board with. He looks like he had some troubles in the turns 1 and 2 area as well, like Nick did. The car a little looser than most. Dion usually doesn't drive that loose of a race car. Kind of tiptoeing through the S's. I feel like Dion might have gone a little too extreme on the downforce, so in the wrong direction. And he is 1.3 seconds off of pole time at the end of Sector 2 as they head into the stadium section.
Yeah, the gap's so big right now. 1.3 seconds off pole actually puts him at P7 or so, but he's going to dive into the pits. He didn't like that one.
We can pick up Robin Herterstegen, one of the few drivers that's on a timed lap. Yeah, and he's at that double apex that you were talking about. Mexico is a super interesting track to me because there's so many spots on this track. We talked about the S's, how you can lose a lot of time and gain a lot of time. I feel like there's a lot of corners like that. There's such 90-degree corners. They look like you can take them quicker than you can, and I think a lot of people overcompensate and blow up the corners a lot.
Yeah, and you know, the late apex there that we saw Hertzford-Hagen on, I think, yeah, it's a very visually deceptive circuit in general. I think with the elevation changes, as you mentioned, there's quite a bit of a smoke there, I think, from lag that Hertzfeldhagen goes through. But some very quick turns, like, you know, coming up here into turn 1 and then right after into turn 4. The stadium section, I think, is also just very hard to get a handle on, and as you mentioned, the S's. So despite having 3 DRS zones and 2 pretty long straights, I think it's just so easy to lose time going around this circuit, and I think we've seen that based on, you know, Tim Bentinck in P3 and the gap to P4, Christian Dorman. It's pretty significant.
A full second. Boer Bune does now set a more competitive time, just coming across the line of 1:16.7. Currently watching his teammate Noah Smith in the other Haas. He's on a timed lap now as he heads into the stadium section. And a bit of a shakeup at Haas in real life for next season, as Nico Hulkenberg will no longer be with the team.
Yeah, I love it. If we're going to talk about real F1 news, I think Hulk actually, 100% deserves a better car. What he's done in what I thought would be the worst car on the track has been really amazing.
And Noah Smith does go 1:16.5, so that is good enough for 4th position now.
Curious to see where Alexei Koivuniemi is on an actual lap now. He's 1.2 seconds faster through the first sector.
Well, I believe that's faster than his previous time.
Right, so he should have plenty of time to gain. You hope it's going to be close to 5 seconds for Alexei here. And he is doing it. He's about 1.2 seconds, 1.3 seconds for each sector. I think he'll be in the 116s.
Coming out of the final corner. Ooh! Sawing at that wheel, but yeah, 1:16.8, good enough for 6th position. So now the times are actually starting to drop a little bit for the other drivers. Nicolo Falzaresi has been provisional pole since his first timed lap.
Not even just his first time lap. That was the first time put up on the board. He was first on track. So, you know, the track's only going to get better for Nico as far as that time's concerned.
Currently watching Juan Rivas. He is 0.2 of a second off of his best time, so he's not going to improve his time here in Sector 3. Nick Van Gelder is currently on an out lap, swapping spots with his teammate. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of a Red Bull, get a little bit of a tow off of his teammate to start his first, will hopefully be his first timed lap. We've got 6 minutes and 30 seconds left to play in the session, and Nick has yet to set a time to use the tow off of Sam Brandt coming down the front straightaway. Sandro Dulius just went 1:16.2 to take provisional pole away from Nicolo Falzaresi. Could we be looking at a 1:15 pole time?
Yeah, what a lap for Sandro, who again makes it very clear how he feels about Sector 3 here.
Oh, and Nick Van Gelder still fighting a loose race car. Heading through the S's. Oh, and a 1:16 flat for Nicolo Falzaresi, so he retakes pole position away from Sandro Dulius. And Nick Van Gelder has invalidated his lap time, so he is still yet to set a lap.
Yeah,
Tim Bentinck currently in the pits. Noah Smith.
Not sure how Nick invalidated. He certainly was a couple seconds off, maybe in the 118 range, but not sure where it happened. He's going to have to get back out on track pretty quick, though.
So I've picked up Ivan Brito, who is running very close to one of the Williams that's out on track. I don't know if that's by design or... And it looks like he's off throttle a little bit, so it looks like he's 5 seconds off of his previous time. So
yeah, going through the S's with the in the slipstream of a car that close to you, it's only going to slow you down in the S's because you want the grip there.
And Dion Stahl was almost 2/10 up over his best time and then invalidated his lap time, so. Looks like Bor Bune is the only one right now that's currently on a timed lap. He is 0.2 of a second up over his previous time, coming out of Sector 1 and into Sector 2.
Purple Sector 2 for Bor Bune.
Into the stadium section. He took a great line going into the stadium section. This looks like it might have some potential. Currently fifth at a 1:16.7. He comes out of the final corner and a 1:16.344, good enough to bump him up in the third quickest. And I was going to pick up Christian Dorman, but he's just rolling through the S's straight on. So I'll pick up Tim Ventic. He's currently on an out lap. He's getting ready to start a timed lap. So we'll hop on board with him. 1:16.5 from his previous time. Good enough for fourth so far. And we'll pick up Oleski next, because Oleski's coming out of the pits now to start an out lap. So that'll be good timing. Tim will finish his timed lap just as Oleski's coming across to start one. 3 minutes left to play in the session. Again, doing an 18-minute short qualifying session, followed by a 50% race. Fighting for pole. Can we see a driver crack into the 115s? A 1:16.076 for Falzaresi, your provisional pole time. 115 certainly within the grasp.
I think looked good through the S's. I think he took kind of a more aggressive line than we've been seeing, and a very slight improvement for him.
It sounded like he was on the throttle a lot more than most drivers I've hopped on board with. Struggling a little bit through the stadium section. And, oh, he just missed out on improving his time by 0.004 of a second.
He's nothing if not consistent, at least.
Looks like he might be stuck there. He's not going to have enough time to go around.
Koivuniemi, huge improvement.
1:16.3. So now he takes over fourth spot, takes that away from Tim Ventic. So Sandro Dulius on an out lap. He's going to take him one last shot at trying to snatch pole position away from Nicola Falzaresi. Falzaresi's still in the pits. And 1 minute and 30 seconds left to play. So he'd be pushing his luck trying to get out now and start a final lap. So it looks like Falzaresi might be locked in with his time. When you take a look at these guys that are in the pits, there's some pretty good drivers that are not going to take another shot at this. Noel and Noah Smith both sitting in 6th and 7th respectively right now, but they're both in the pits. Not going to be enough time to get out to do the out lap and a timed lap, so.
Yeah, Eric Algarsma does have the qualifying ban. Jesper, I don't believe Jesper has any sort of reason to not qualify. And of course, Nick Van Gelder, we saw, I'm not sure if he's got a game plan.
He should be on a timed lap, but he's been struggling with the setup of that car. Meanwhile, riding along with Sandro Dulius. And Bor Bune's time is currently locked in at a 1:16.344. Right now, that's good enough for third quickest. As we hear Sandro bouncing it off of the rev limiter as he heads into the S's. A little sloppy of an entrance heading in there. Might cost him a little bit of time. Oleski's locked in. Sandro currently a 10th up over his previous time, but that wouldn't be good enough for Pole. Again, struggling. Oh, he almost lost the back end. Trying to get that power down. And he improves his time, but not his position. Look how close that is for Pole.
If you're Dulise, you have to feel pretty good that even with the back end coming loose, coming out of the stadium, you were only 0.04 off Nicolo Falzaresi. I think if you're Sandro, that's pretty encouraging.
So the only driver left is Ivan Brito, and just misses out on improving his time, so he'll be locked in for 9th. But not a bad qualifying effort for good old Ivan Brito.
Yeah, I think he actually ran 2 laps on those softs. I saw him on his first lap, and he didn't have, he invalidated. He didn't have time to go into the pits, so he just rolled the dice, stayed out there on some old softs, and I think smart. At least get some extra practice in on what can be a tricky circuit here.
So Nicolo Falzaresi with another pole position, followed by Sandro Dulius. Borbune will be starting 3rd. Oleski is 4th. Tim Ventic 5th. Noah Smith is 6th. Noel is 7th. Christian Norman will be starting in 8th. Ivan Brito 9th. Juan Rivas is going to be starting in 10th. Sam Brandt, 117.8, gets him good enough for 11th. Dion Stahl is 12th. Robin Herderstagen is 13th. And then everybody from 14th to 17th, no time set. Eric had the qualifying ban. We're not sure what Jesper was thinking. Nick Van Gelder struggled with the setup of his car, and Jensen Randall is just doing the last to first challenge as he has already secured this year's championship.
Well, I'm imagining and kind of expecting there will be some fireworks. If you watched the PSGL's season, the S's here in Mexico created quite a bit of commotion and carnage. I think it's kind of like Maggots and Beckett's at Silverstone. I think when you get into a high-speed area like that, sometimes you have to back off and bide your time, wait for an overtaking opportunity. Not everyone is willing to do that. Plenty of safety cars to
arrow wash off of the car in front. And there are not enough players remaining in the session. You will now be returned to the session lobby. That is the error that I got.
We're still here on my end, so hopefully you can join back.
It says, it actually looks like a lot of people are leaving the session. Or maybe it's just me that's left the session and it's showing me everybody else.
I think it might just be you. Meanwhile, on the formation lap, it looks like everyone is out there warming up the tires. Quite a wide range of strategies here. Nicolo Falzaresi, Alexei Koivuniemi, Eric Elgersma, and Jensen Randall all running on the hard compound. You see most of the field on the mediums. On the softs, Noah Smith, as always, Noel Russell Abia. So Falzaresi and Jensen Randall bookending the grid on the hards, both looking for long stints. Not a surprise from Jensen Randall. A nice shot there of turns 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, here we go. I am back. That was weird. Okay. Seem to be back and everything is working, I guess, correctly. I knew I had a little bit of technical difficulties at the beginning of this. That doesn't continue. Let's see if we can get some tire detail here. So interesting mixture of hards and mediums, and then Noah Smith and Noel, 6th and 7th, will be starting on these soft tires. That's an interesting strategy as well.
I almost wonder if Nico kind of understood that Jensen Randall would be running on the hards and just thought, I'll just run the same race as him.
You know, if I'm in Nico's position and I know how good Jensen is, I'm going to do what he does. Because if you can't beat him, join him.
It took, yeah, and it took almost no time in the last round for Jensen Randall to make his way back up to the top.
Well, turn one can certainly be a bit chaotic here with this long straightaway. They're going to fan out immediately at the start. So we're going to wait for the 5 red lights. Lights out, time to run what you brung. They're away in a puff of smoke. And a bad start for, who is that? Borbune that didn't get going. And now they're 3 wide coming down the front straightaway. Looks like Tim Ventic trying to get in there. And that's Oleski that's moved up into the second spot. And maybe it wasn't Borbune. Borbune's there in third position. Looked like one of the Haas's didn't get going on my end.
Yeah, that's going to be Noah Smith still on the line, actually.
I wonder if he's had a disconnect issue. Nicolo Falzarezzi out in front, and we've got a caution, and
I saw a wing end plate just go flying off.
Noah Smith has left the session, so not sure if he had an internet issue, kind of like I did. His car never got going. And now we're back to, doesn't look like we're going to get a safety car or anything like that. So still green flag racing. Nicolo Falzarezzi out in front, followed by Oleski. Borbune is third. Noel is fourth. Ivan Brito's made his way up into the 5th position. And Sandro Dulius has gone from 2nd to 6th. Not sure what happened to him at the start.
Yeah, I still haven't been able to discover who has the damage. It's not Dulius, but someone certainly has some wing damage. I have a feeling we'll see someone go into the pit lane here. But what a start for Ivan Brito, and what a nightmare start for Sandro Dulius.
Tim Ventic is 7th. Jensen Randall has already made his way up into 8th from 17th. Looks like Christian Dorman's the one heading into the pit, so it might be him. And Ivan Brito trying to make a move on Sandra. Sandra is going to take 5th position away. Ivan trying to come back, though.
Also, Albia very slow through turns 2 and 3 there.
Oh, we've got a lot going on back here with
into the straight.
Robin Herterstegen. So Noah Smith. Now his car is running. I don't know that Noah's actually in control of it, but his car's just moved up into 15th over Nick Van Gelder and Christian Dorman. And I don't know what Nick's got a flat tire. He's got a flat right front. So that's probably where the wing damage came from.
A VSC. And it's kind of a chaotic, hard to follow start as we get into the VSC. Noah Rosso Abia, something is up with his Alfa Romeo, especially on corner exits. He just had no speed at all coming out. Sandro Dulius has made his way back up to P4. Really, the only 2 drivers who seem unaffected by everything, Nicolo Falzarezzi and Alexei Koivuniemi, that benefited being out in front of the pack, away from the chaos.
So yeah, as you said, a bit of a chaotic start. Obviously a glitch for Noah Smith. I saw the notification that he left. I don't know that he's back. Noel's running into the pits. He's got some damage done to his car. Obviously, we saw the problem with Christian Dorman, Nick Van Gelder. So, and Van Gelder, drive-through penalty, speeding under the virtual safety car. And so Nick's day has gone from bad to worse, and it's only lap 3.
And he got that right as the VSC ended. And as the VSC ended, Jensen Randall, aware of the overtaking opportunity as the safety car ended, gets up into P5 over Tim Ventic.
Yep, caught Tim Ventic napping on that, and now Sandro Dulius is going to have to fight him off, and there's a 3-second time penalty for Borbune. Looks like for corner cutting. So he's running in 3rd, so that's going to be, and somebody, who is that? Is that Nick still that's off the pace?
That is.
Or is that Sam Brandt?
Yeah, I think that was Sam Brandt going pretty wide there, coming out of turn 4, I believe. Turns 4 and 5.
So Borbune, we're going to pick up Borbune. He's battling it out with Oleski for the 2nd place. And it looks like Noah Smith has rejoined the session. So Noah Smith, whose car is currently running 13th, has not been in control. So bad start for Noah, disconnected. But it's only lap 3. He's got a lot of time to make it up if he can regain control of that car. Nicolo Falzarezzi still out in front, just ran the fastest lap of this race. Followed by Oleski, followed by Jensen Randall. And here goes Borbune over Oleski to take the 2nd spot away. And Borbune is going to be up into 2nd, but he still has that 3-second time penalty hanging over his head. Jensen Randall, the inside of Sandro Dulius, down into turn 1. And Jensen is going to run up into 4th. Meanwhile, Robin Herderstegen making a move over Dion Stahl to take away the 10th and final points-paying position from him. So a lot going on track here.
Yeah, Jensen Randall making it look even easier than the last round. And now Nico probably very happy he's on the same strategy as Jensen Randall.
Ivan Burrito battling it out with Juan Rivas for the 7th position. And we get into that very tricky section. This is what we were talking about. Actually, I think it was these two drivers, too, being this close nose to tail in the S's. And it's almost like a catch-22 because you get that short straightaway out of the S's. You kind of want to be close for that to get the slipstream. Looks like Ivan thought about trying to make a move into the stadium section and then thought better of it. Meanwhile, Dion Stahl and Robin Herderstegen swap places again. Dion taking that spot back. Borbune just ran the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, the first 119 and a very, very low 119 for Borbune. And he's taking the lead.
And Ivan Brito is now making the move on Juan Rivas down the front straightaway. He's going to take that 7th spot away. Oh, and there's almost contact between them. Meanwhile, Robin Herderstegen and Dion Stahl were battling it out. Jesper Lempinen jumped in between them and took away the 11th spot. Drops Dion back to 12th, and now Jesper's looking to make a move to the inside of Robin Herderstegen for the 10th spot.
Some danger perhaps afoot. P3 to P6. That's Koivuniemi, Randall, Dooley, Spentink in the S's now, all within DRS of each other.
So we've got 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th now. And Falzaresi trying to get back to Borbune for that top spot. We'll see if there's any team orders between the Aston Martins here as they run nose to tail.
This straight across start finish, this long straight. This is where all the overtakes have been happening coming into turn 1. So I think there will be some shifting of positions perhaps between the Astons here.
Doesn't look like Falzaresi is going to be close enough to make a move, but Jensen Randall does get out in front of Oleski for the 3rd position. Meanwhile, Tim Ventic all over the back of Sandro Dulius. And Dion Stahl and Robin Herderstegen swap positions again. Dion taking the 11th spot away from Robin Herderstegen. Jesper has moved up into 10th and has gapped to them, but Dion Stahl and Robin Herderstegen having a great battle between each other. Meanwhile, Falzaresi is all over the gearbox of Borbune, and Borbune, we still have that 3-second time penalty that he's going to have tacked onto him at the end of the race.
Yeah, still not sure how Borbune received that penalty. Again, it was in the first couple laps. So if he needed to evade something happening, then of course the stewards have the ability to remove that penalty should Borbune choose to appeal it.
Well, Falzaresi should be close enough this time to make the move down into turn 1. Easily close enough down this front straightaway. He may not even need the freaking DRS. He's going to have just the slipstream. Ivan Brito picks up a 3-second time penalty. Woo! That was close. Borbune really cutting it close, trying to get back to the slipstream of Nicola Falzaresi's car, and Falzaresi easily takes over the top spot.
I wonder if Nico and Borbune are kind of working together here. Do they have Jensen Randall 1.8 seconds behind? Jensen, I don't think he'll be battling with Koivuniemi, but we do see Falzaresi and Bune kind of switching positions on that straight each lap. So they may be playing a long game here for as much time as they can to just keep Jensen Randall away from them.
Meanwhile, Eric and Ivan Brito swap positions. Ivan Brito picked up a 3-second time penalty a few corners ago, and he's side by side with Eric, and right behind them is Juan Rivas. So we've got 7th, 8th, and 9th. You can throw a blanket over the 3 of them.
Yeah, this makes me nervous coming into the S's.
And you stated Eric had a qualifying penalty, so he was starting at the rear of the field. He's now worked his way up into the points. Meanwhile, Sandro Dulius just got passed by Tim Ventic for the 5th spot, so Sandro's down into 6th now. And Ivan Brito, oh, he makes contact with Eric. Oh, and now frickin' Juan Rivas makes contact with Ivan Brito. Wings to tires. I'm hoping we don't have any sliced tires. It looks like Juan Rivas was the big loser in that. Lost the DRS. Meanwhile, Ivan Brito, he's got the DRS slot open. I don't know if he's going to be able to get to turn 1 soon enough to make a move. Here he comes. He thought about it and then thought better of it. Gets back in line.
Yeah, I think a smart move. Another DRS zone right here that uses the same detection point as the previous one. So you don't want to compromise your entry into turn 2 by going for something on turn 1.
Meanwhile, Sandro takes 5th position back from Tim Ventic, and Jensen Randall is now within DRS striking range of Bor Bune and Nicolo Falzarezzi. So 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Ooh, and that was very close.
Jensen seems to have the stadium section down a little bit more efficiently than perhaps Bor Bune or Nicolo Falzarezzi in front of him, because he made up a lot of time there.
And he is going to easily get around Bor Bune for the 2nd spot. Oh, and they touch. Oh, and it's 3 wide as they head down into turn 1. Jensen Randall all the way to the inside. Oh, that was reminiscent of Schumacher and Hakkinen back in Spa in 1999.
I'm not sure if Bor Bune just didn't realize Jensen was there, or maybe if it was a late move, but I think a little bit of tire-on-tire contact as Bor Bune moved to the right. Maybe didn't want to lift because he was catching up to Nicolo Falzarezzi.
Well, I think because they both had DRS, it looked like, ooh, and there's a little bit of contact there for Bor Bune and Falzarezzi, but I think Bor Bune was trying to make the move on Falzarezzi at the same time Jensen was making the move on him. And now Jensen Randall from last to 1st in 9 laps. Meanwhile, Ivan Brito and Eric are still battling side by side. Oh, that's tight. And this is in the S's. This is what we were talking about. You can't go side by side here. Big wiggle there for Eric. He loses out on that battle. Brito's going to cut across his nose. Eric coming back down the short chute, and here comes Juan Rivas. He's back in this battle now as well. Brito goes very wide heading into the stadium section. Oh, and they make contact again.
Yeah, not the prettiest sector 2 and 3 there for these 3.
Oh, and a big wiggle for Eric as he tries to get the power down.
We see this round after round where even Brito is just so hard to get around. Elgarisma is going to get around him this time on the DRS straight, but there's just something about even Brito out there on track that he's always in a battle, and you know, to his credit, he always keeps it clean. He finishes his races, so good for Elgarisma to get around what can really be just a wall moving at 200 miles per hour out there sometimes.
And now Brito has lost that position. Here comes Juan Rivas. He's going to dive to the inside. He's going to make a little bit of contact with Brito. Right front to left rear.
Yeah, I don't think that spot was there. That's kind of the vortex of danger that you hear about. Didn't quite have the position earned there as far as relative to Brito's car.
And now Dion Stahl picks up a 3-second timing penalty.
I think Nico about to get back into a podium position here within DRS range of Koivuniemi on the long start-finish straight. Although maybe not, because Koivuniemi got a great exit out of that last turn.
Oh, he's got him for sure. And Tim Ventic is coming with him. Oh, and a big wiggle for Ventic at the end of the straightaway. Lost the front end of the car. So Falzarezzi, who started on pole, led most of this race, now down into 3rd position. Meanwhile, 7th, 8th, and 9th still battling it out. Those 3 cars haven't really been able to separate themselves from each other. And now through the S's, we've got Falzarezzi, followed by Oleski, followed by Tim Ventic, followed by Sandro Dulius. They're all within DRS range of each other. Meanwhile, Jensen Randall was pulled out to a 1.1 second lead over Bor Bune, so he's getting out of the DRS range. Oh, and a 3-second time penalty for your Season 5 champion, Tim Ventic, in the stadium section.
Yeah, that's turn 12, slightly downhill, so you lose a bit of downforce, and you're always worried about the entry for the little hairpin there. So I think that's where we've seen a lot of the track limits violations.
And now we're going to get a bit of a DRS train with these 4th, 5th, and 6th. Oleski trying to make a move on Falzarezzi. Wasn't close enough. Oh, man. Jensen saved it. I don't know. Or not Jensen. Oleski saved it. I don't know how he held on to it. Nearly got punted by Ventic.
And yet another bit of magic from Sandro Dulius to kind of come around a corner blind and avoid a car that's a little bit sideways. We saw it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Sandro has a very good DNF ratio. Not a lot of DNFs to the amount of races that guy's been in, especially since season 1. Can't say the same for all of the drivers, but it looks like Ivan Brito's lost out on his battle. He is now down to 9th. So it made life difficult for Eric and Juan Rivas, but yeah, things starting to separate themselves a little bit.
Yeah, I think even we'll be able to get past Juan Rivas here on the straight, but yeah, this is really where the battle is right now. It's here in the midfield with even Brito, where I feel like there's always a battle.
Sandro and Tim Ventic. Tim got the DRS, and he's going to take over the 5th position.
Wow, the DRS so strong on that straight. I mean, just in the last lap coming into this area, we saw Tim Ventic make contact with Koivuniemi. It looked like, okay, he's a second behind Sandro, so DRS very, very strong on this track.
And Bor Bune picks up another 3-second time penalty. So that's at least 2 that we know about. Meanwhile, Ivan Brito trying to come back on Juan Rivas for that 8th position. Gets to the inside of him. Oh, they're side by side, but Juan Rivas is there on the switchback. And they're still side by side, and now Brito's going to just get out in front of him through the double apex. Right-hander. And now they're going to head into the S's. Oh, and a big wiggle there from Juan Rivas. Oh, and he picks up a 3-second time penalty. He picked up a lot of arrow wash trying to stick with Ivan Brito. You've talked about that a couple of times today. Them S's are so dangerous when you're that close nose to tail.
Yeah, but nice, respectful driving, you know, watching these two affording each other space through areas where you usually get nervous. So good driving as always from Brito and Juan Rivas through the S's. It gets dicey, but they never really drove unfairly there.
Meanwhile, Oleski is up in the 4th position. He's got the DRS advantage over Nicolo Falzarezzi. Not close enough to make a move this time. And Rivas and Brito still battling it out as Rivas takes the position back down the straightaway. Ivan Brito is going to drop back into 9th again. So these two can't get away from each other as this battle rages on. And pit stop should be coming up here shortly.
I should think so. Noah Smith, you know, maybe the CPU taking over for Noah Smith conserves the tires, but 13 laps on the soft compound for him. Surely at this point he's losing time with those tires, but I think Noah going for a 1-stop.
That's a bold strategy, even if, I mean, was that the mentality before he lost connection? I mean, that would be a long way to go on softs. Meanwhile, we do finally have a little bit of separation between Ron Rivas and the Mercedes of Ivan Brito. Ivan's still within DRS range, but running really wide heading into that stadium section. And Falzarezzi has caught Bor Bune.
Yeah, I think Bor Bune definitely in danger at the start of the next lap when Nico's going to have the DRS. He did not have it coming into the start-finish straight. on this lap, and he still made up quite a bit of time.
And Noah Smith with a time penalty now. And I don't know if it's by design. Maybe Jensen Randall is conserving his car a little bit, but he hasn't pulled away as much as we're used to when it comes to some of these races. He's only 2.7 seconds out in front of these guys. They can still see the back of his car, and that's something that not a lot of people can say. Once he's out in front, he usually gaps the field pretty substantially.
I do wonder if, since Jensen Randall had to make so many overtakes to get to his position, and he's on the same strategy, at least in terms of tire compound, as Nico Falzarezzi, I almost wonder if his tires, I think you're exactly right, he is kind of going into a conservation mode, because certainly at lap 9, when Jensen finally takes the race lead, you would think his tires are in worse shape than Falzarezzi's.
And Falzarezzi getting ready to make the move on board Bune, take over the second spot. So we'll have to mind that gap and keep track of that. See if Falzarezzi can close the time down. It's 2.8, almost 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Tim Ventic is battling it out with Oleski now for the 4th position.
And no sooner than we pointed out Noah Smith's 13-lap-old soft compound tires, he has pitted for a fresh set of mediums.
Now, will he be able to run those all the way to the end? That'd probably be a little close. 20 laps, that'd probably be a little close. Looks like Christian Dorman is headed into the pits, so he'll get a fresh set of tires. So pit stop starting to happen at the tail end of the field. Still waiting to see if any of these front runners are going to make a move. And it looks like Boer Bune has dived into the pits. Ivan Brito, 3-second time penalty, unfortunately for him. Tim Ventic now going to be looking to make a move on Oleski down into turn 1. Oh, and he backed off a little bit.
Yeah, I think Yemi went a little defensive.
I think he's saving it for the second DRS zone right here.
We already saw contact coming into turn 1 from these two a few laps ago, where Tim Venting a little bit brave on the brakes, just kind of hit the back of Koivuniemi's car, so maybe both drivers saying, let's just try and do our best to avoid that this time.
And Noah Smith with a 118.8, first driver to crack into the 118s, runs the fastest lap of the race on a fresh set of mediums.
Ventic on older, well, same age tires as Koivuniemi, but softer. You see the yellow rim for him. I wonder, as he wiggles, losing traction, I almost wonder if Tim's going to be coming in on this lap for a tire change.
Oh, yep,
yes,
good
indeed.
call. There he goes. So Tim Ventic is in. Looks like Sandro Dulius is in. And Sandro almost got out before him, at least on my screen. Probably a glitch.
So all the medium runners starting to come in now. Even Brito coming in. Jesper Limpinen coming in. Dion Stahl on the medium compound staying out. So he's going to take the medium compound the farthest, pending any decisions from Robin Hertzhagen here.
And the top 4 positions are all still out on hard tires. So Eric, who didn't qualify, he had a qualifying ban. He had that battle midfield for a long time with a number of drivers, has now worked his way up into 4th using the hard tire strategy, which is the same strategy Jensen is on.
And Falzarezzi. So you had the pole sitter and the two guys starting at the very back all on the same strategy. And here, after the first round of pit stops, they find themselves in P1, P2, and P4. And Alexei Koivuniemi, of course, had a great qualifying session too.
Yeah, so big separation right now for the top 4 drivers. Actually, it doesn't look like anybody's really close to anybody going through some of this pit sequence. But a lot of black and white flags there next to these drivers' names. A lot of timing penalties, so that's going to certainly shake things up at the end of this race. We know Borbune has at least 2 that I'm aware of. Tim Ventic has 1. Dion Stahl looks like he's got 1. He's heading into the pits now. And he gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. So just adds to his day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking closer at the time penalties that are pending. 6 seconds for Borbune and even Brito. 8 seconds for Dion Stahl. 3 seconds for everyone else except Nick Van Gelder, who I think at this point a lap down, I don't think that penalty is going to have too much of an effect, but someone like Sandro Luis or even Jesper Limpinen, if they can stay clean, they might just suddenly jump 2 or even 3 positions here as we get to the end of the race.
So Noah Smith just got around Ivan Brito for the 9th position. We were just talking about the timing penalties that he's incurred. Juan Rivas is running in 8th all by his lonesome. Sandro Dooley is one of the few drivers that does not have a timing penalty right now. Currently running in the 7th position. And looks like Noah Smith might have had an issue. He just lost 3 positions, now down into 11th. And, Noah Smith has left the session. Looks like he might be having... Where's his car?
I'm on board with Christian Dorman to see if I can see where his car is.
Oh, he's bended into the wall.
Yeah, to the left of, looks like maybe a bit of oversteer coming out of turn 4.
And looks like he left the session, and he's now going to be officially disqualified for parking the car in a dangerous area. Now, I don't know if that was another internet disconnect, because he had that problem earlier at the start of the race. And his car is now going to be parked behind the wall.
I would imagine it was a disconnect. I don't think it's in Noah Smith to leave a race like that. So that's too bad for Noah Smith. There are things in the rule book to discourage this for, that the stewards can incur, but we'll see what happened exactly with Noah Smith later.
Well, and I think you're right. One, it's not in his character to do that. And he had just made the pass on Ivan Brito to pick up 9th, and then a couple corners later, bloop, he's gone. So I think the stewards will be able to look at that and make a pretty easy and quick determination that probably wasn't his fault. But it certainly was confusing there for a hot second. And now we've got our first official DNF, DSQ, however you want to look at it. Started with 17 cars, now have 16 remaining. So to try and re-rack it a little bit, Jensen Randall is out in front of Oleski to the tune of 11 seconds. Borbune, who's running in 3rd, is 10 seconds behind that. Nicolo Falzarezzi, who's got Tim Ventic all over the back of him. So there is a battle for 4th going on. Tim Ventic does have those timing penalties on him for now. And Season 5 champion is going to try and find a way around today's pole sitter. And Christian Dorman picks up a 3-second timing penalty. Christian Dorman currently running in the 14th position, half a second behind Sam Brandt, who's managed to stay in 13th position.
Jensen Randall starting to come up on some back markers. He is on 20-lap-old hard compounds. I wonder if the idea is Jensen goes into the pit now or if he keeps waiting. He's far enough ahead of his teammate Alexei Koivuniemi that they could potentially both pit here and not worry about double stacking.
And Christian Dorman just made a move around Sam Brandt for the 13th position, while Noel made a pass on Dion Stahl for the 11th spot.
And yes, both Astons in pit lane now, but again, I think Jensen will be able to get out in time.
So Jensen's out. Here comes Oleski. That is perfect timing. They don't necessarily have to double stack. And Nicolo Falzarezzi just ran the fastest lap of this race. And he is all over the back of Borbune, and Borbune, Jensen Randall comes out just in front of these two that were battling for the 2nd position. So Jensen Randall, he's basically going to have clear track in front of him. He'll be able to pull away from these guys for sure. Falzarezzi probably hoping he could have gotten around Borbune, maybe take a stab at getting that top spot from Jensen Randall, but Aston Martin doing the work in the pits, getting him out in front of these guys, and I think that's pretty much going to probably seal the deal for Jenson Randall. He's going to be able to walk away with this for sure.
I wonder if Nico, I mentioned earlier, it looked like Falzaresi and Borbione are maybe working together. I wonder if they'll do it again just to kind of, instead of, previously I said keeping Jenson behind them, I wonder if they'll work together to at least have a stab at looking at Jenson Randall later. Nico's tires aren't that much older than Jenson Randall's, and for Borbione, I think if he can secure a podium position here by working with Nico, that's fantastic for him.
Now, it's going to be tough to do. I mean, well, Borbione and Tim Ventic, they both have timing penalties, so podium pretty wide open. Falzaresi, though, I think this late in the race and this close to Jenson, I think his aggressiveness is probably going to take over. He's probably not going to want to work with somebody. He's going to want to try and see if he can get to Jenson outright speed. But we'll see. It's to me, it's a good strategy if they work together. I just don't see it in Falzaresi's character to do that. He's a super aggressive driver. And I just think being this close to the leader, he's going to want to try and stay that close to the leader. Meanwhile, we've got Tim Ventic is now up into fourth. Sandro Dulius behind him. Oleski is well behind him in the sixth position. Eric running a really good, solid race in seventh spot.
Yeah, I think with Jenson doing the last to first, it's easy to forget that Eric Algarisma also kind of, qualifying banned, but has found himself up in P7 right now and has looked pretty strong throughout the race. Nice and clean, no major incidents, no penalties, which is huge when you see all the black and white flags on the timing table right now.
And Jenson Randall just ran the fastest lap of this race, the first driver into the 117s this time, so...
Yeah, Jenson approaching our qualifying times, really. I mean, 116 flat, I think, was the pole position for Nicolo Falzaresi. Jenson not that far off that in race conditions.
So all the drivers pretty separated at this point, this late in the race. Jenson Randall, your leader, three-time SRL champion, as he locked that up a few rounds ago. Looks like Aston Martin's going to be our Constructors' Championship this season between him and Oleski. So another really impressive run by Jenson Randall, starting from last, running to first. Nicolo Falzaresi started on pole, led the first portion of this race. Unfortunately, hasn't been able to retain that, but currently running in a very strong second. Borbione currently running in third. This is the closest battle we have on track, is between Borbione and Tim Ventic, your Season 5 champion. Both have timing penalties incurred. I think Borbione has 2, Tim has 1, so there's still a podium spot up for grabs between those two. Sandro Dulius started in fourth. He's only lost one position. He does have a Red Bull behind him that is not for position. Red Bull's unfortunately running 15th and 16th right now. So behind Sandro, another 3.5 seconds back is the other Aston Martin of Oleski. Battling it out with Nicolo Falzaresi for second in the championship, along with Logan Arand, but Logan unfortunately is taking a sabbatical. Don't think we'll see him back this season. And we talked about Eric. Great run for him, running up into seventh. Juan Rivas has had a bit of an up and down day battling it out with some of these guys. Manages to hang on to 8th position for now. And Ivan Brito, another guy who's been having an up and down day. And now we've got a battle for 9th going on with Jesper Lempinen, as Jesper has now caught Ivan Brito for the 9th position. DRS slot open for Jesper Lempinen, but I think he's too far back to make a move heading into turn 1.
He took a look at least.
But he will have DRS at the next straightaway right here, so good exit for Brito. Look at him run all the way down on that line.
Oh, a little bit scruffy for Brito.
Oh, and a big wiggle coming out of that corner. And now Jesper's got a tiptoe on the entrance into the S's, and Brito's going to gap him just a little bit.
Yeah, I think smart for Jesper. He's clearly got the pace, especially on the straights. And then if you can stay in DRS and if you can get the overtake done on T1 after this straight, you actually still have DRS, even though you're now gaining a position into that second straight.
Whoa! And Jesper just lost the back end of the car.
Yes, he
Bins
did.
it into the wall and lost his front wing. So
hey, at
bad
least
news
he's right there
for,
by the pit lane.
And here comes Dion Stahl to take over the 10th position. So I really thought he was getting antsy. He was going to try and make that run down into turn 1, as you were saying. Got a little throttle happy and binned it into the wall. And great defensive driving, as always, from Ivan Brito. Tough break for Jesper Lempinen, who didn't set a qualifying time. Still not sure as to why he did not do that. He didn't have a qualifying ban that I'm aware of, so...
Koivuniemi through the S's, able to gain some time. Does have to get around a back marker in front of him, but I think more crucially for him, Sander Delis had to deal with the Red Bull in the S's, so I think Koivuniemi gained about half a second there, thanks to the back markers.
Yeah, 1.3 second gap for Sandro to Oleski. And Oleski's on the medium, Sandro's on the hards. Sandro pitted a few laps before Oleski did, so Oleski's got the tire advantage.
And then Borbune 6 seconds of penalties ahead of him, so Tim Venting 3 seconds. I think Koivuniemi is still very much in play for a podium here with about 10 laps to go.
Oh, caution in sector 2. I think that might be one of the Williams. They're right in that area. I don't see the car. Is it one of the Williams or was it one of the Alpines?
Ah, someone in reverse. That looked like, yeah, I'm not sure who that was, but the car is drivable. As that happens, Koivuniemi has gained a second on Sander Delis. He is only 3/10 behind now.
Well, while they were going through that sector, there was another Red Bull that they had to get around. Sandro lost out on that big time. Now through the stadium section.
Should be a slam dunk for Alexei here to use the DRS, get the overtake done on Sander Delis, and still have DRS coming out of turn 3.
Now he's going to get him even before they get past pit road. He's alongside of him. Nothing Sandro can do about that one. He knows that he's going to let him go with little contention. And Oleski up into 5th, what is essentially going to be 4th if things finish the way they are right now. Tim Ventic, though, he's got a timing penalty, but right now he would hang on to that 3rd spot. That'd be a great finish for Season 5 champion.
Yeah, you hope with Tim Venting, he's ahead of Borbune, a nice buffer between him and Nicolo Falzaresi. I think it's the S's, and I want to say coming out of turn 12, which is where Tim's coming up right now, that we've seen the track limits violations. So if he can avoid that, I think you're right. Podium should be in the cards for Venting.
Season 5 champion heading out of the stadium section. He's only 2 seconds back from Falzaresi. Falzaresi has not been able to make any ground on Jenson Randall. Jenson Randall is out front to the tune of almost 9 seconds over Falzaresi. Tim Ventic's hovering around that 2.2, 1.9 area right now. And Juan Rivas picks up another 3-second time penalty. He's currently running in the 8th position. So these timing penalties here at the end is definitely going to shake things up. There's a couple of points positions up for grab, 13th through 16th. Pretty inconsequential at this point. I mean, Nick Van Gelder's been essentially a lap down this whole race. Hasn't been able to make any ground. He's got a timing penalty. We saw Dion Stahl, who's currently running in 10th. I mean, he's got the 5-second time penalty for speeding, plus a 3-second time penalty. So it's going to be interesting at the end of this race to see where these guys stack up. Meanwhile, Leski is now within DRS range of Borbune for the 4th position.
And if you're Borbune, there's no reason to fight this. You have the penalties, so no reason to slow yourself down trying to keep someone behind you when they will ultimately finish ahead of you anyway. Assuming no track limit violations are moved for Borbune.
Yeah, because realistically, I mean, Borbune should concede the position without much contention. And if I was him, I would let Oleski go by and then try to pace Oleski so that maybe I can gap Sandro enough that I don't lose another spot at the end of the race because of the time penalties. And we'll see Oleski easily get to the inside of Borbune.
Yeah, he did that before the DRS even activated. You saw the wing was still closed by the time he got side by side.
So Oleski's going to easily take over that 4th position, and he can now set his sights solidly on 3rd. Now, Tim Bentic does have that 3-second time penalty, so Oleski's got a little bit of time to make up if he wants to try and just stay within the 3 seconds to get the position at the end of the race. But knowing Oleski, he'll probably try to catch him and pass him on track. Do it properly.
Koivuniemi's definitely had the pace. I mean, we saw him in P2 behind Jenson Randall when they both pitted. The unfortunate part is when Koivuniemi came out, he was, I think, P6 or P7, so he had quite a bit of traffic in front of him. There have been back markers. I think now Koivuniemi has a little bit more clean air in front of him, so I think he can get that gap under 3 seconds to Tim Benting before the end of the race, if not just a pure overtake on track.
And we've got a caution flag flying in Sector 3. I think that was probably just for the Williams getting out of the way of these oncoming drivers. It probably would have been Christian Dorman, who's currently running in the 14th position. So things pretty much spread out at this point. This is actually one of the races that I've watched recently that the SRL drivers usually aren't this spread out amongst themselves as far as the gaps in between the positions.
Yeah, usually we see a midfield battle. I mentioned even Brito, who's always engaged in some nice racing in the midfield. But yeah, I mean, the intervals look very large, but all the black and white flags, which is also not typical for SRL, is really going to make us do some quick math here as we get into the final laps to determine, okay, what positions may be gained after they cross the finish line just based on those penalties. Like right now, Alexei Koivuniemi is functionally 1.5 seconds behind Tim Benting. And Borbune with 6 seconds, I mean, he would drop down to P7 at this point.
Which would really help Eric, who has been quietly running in 7th position for quite some time now. But the main thing there, as you said, no timing penalties for Eric. Solid run, didn't qualify because he had the qualifying ban. So and he can gain another position through the timing penalties. As we see that was Christian Dorman trying to cut the corner to let Eric by, and Christian Dorman looks like he's heading into the pits. And a 5-second timing penalty for Christian Dorman speeding into the pit lane. So his day has gone from bad to worse to worse.
Yeah, the pit lane must just start sooner than these drivers are expecting, because we haven't seen this many speeding in the pit lane penalties all season. And that's even with the first couple races, everyone getting used to the new SRL rule where there is no automatic pit lane limiter.
Yeah, years prior, it was automatic when you would hit the pit lane, so you could just go full throttle and the car would automatically adjust when it crossed the line. I like the fact that they brought in the manual part of that to, you're going to have to adjust your speed accordingly. And I think it's definitely, for some of the drivers, it's been a little harder for others to get used to that. But I think it adds an extra element to the strategy and possibly position swaps, because some people might be going a little too slow entering the pit lane. And obviously then you get the guys that have the 5-second time penalty on top of that who go in too hot. So I think it definitely mixed things up. We see another 3-second time penalty for Sam Brandt, who's currently running in the 14th position.
It's going to be close for Sandro Julis to have had DRS here. He does get it, so he's going to make up some time on Borbune in front of him.
Well, he'll get the other short straightaway that'll have DRS. And again, Borbune, as we talked about earlier, I mean, he's not in a position to defend his position with the timing penalties that he's incurred.
Koivuniemi, meanwhile, 7/10, now 6/10 away from a podium position, given the penalties for Tim Benting.
And Sandro actually looks like he's a little bit quicker than Borbune at this point. Oh, and he's all over the gearbox, and this is just, you can't, he's going to have to tiptoe through the S's to try and stick with them. And Borbune being a little defensive.
Yeah, that almost looked like a reactive move for Borbune to defend the position there coming into turn 12.
Well, and as we talked about earlier with his timing penalties, he's not, there's no sense in him trying to be defensive because he's going to lose the position at the end of the race regardless. So, but Sandro easily make that move. And up into up into fifth position for Sandro Dulius, who started second in this race. Or was it fourth? I can't remember.
Koivuniemi, we've got 2.5 laps left. Koivuniemi needs half a second to take that podium away from Tim Benting.
Ironically enough, Tim Benting, who even has that timing penalty, he's actually been closing the gap down to Falzarezzi. It's now under 3 seconds to Falzarezzi. So he's bringing Oleski with him. But Oleski still has that, as you said, a half second to make up. And it might be a little close.
Does seem to be Benting's one of his stronger tracks. He was a podium finish last season. Of course, so was Jensen Randall. But it's going to come down to the wire, I think. The timing gained for Koivuniemi, it's kind of started to taper off here. For a while, it was seemingly 2 or 3 tenths a lap. But now it's going to be close. He's really going to need to find some great laps here as he hops the curb on turn 2. That's not going to help his cause.
And Borbune has jumped into the pit, swapped over to a set of softs. Looks like he's going to give it a go for the fastest lap of the race. Snatch that point away if he can. And Oleski's lost out on that half-second gap. Meanwhile, Tim Benting, 2.3 seconds the gap now to Nicolo Falzarezzi. Falzarezzi might be struggling with those tires a little bit.
Yeah,
1.8, 1.9. I mean, the time is dropping dramatically.
Maybe check in with Nico. I don't know. I haven't seen him have any contact. Maybe you're right. The tires are just starting to drop off. He did just overtake an Alpine. No, that's Tim Benting. I thought it was a back marker. I'm used to seeing Alpine in the back.
No, that's Tim Benting. He's coming 1.6. I mean, if you look at the tire difference, I mean, it's 18-lap-old hards on fighting with 16-lap-old mediums. So maybe the tires are just going away. 20 laps. And Sandro disqualified, failed to use required tire compounds?
That can't be true. Surely Sandro's... I
don't even know what to say if that's legit.
It simply cannot be true. Surely Sandro, I thought he started on the medium compound myself. So, very strange. Sandro, I think, was solidly P6, given the penalties to Borbune if he kept it clean.
I can't even... If that holds true, which... I'll say this. I know the game is glitchy. I haven't seen a glitch for tire compound disqualification in all the years of playing the game. So it's...
Meanwhile, I'm catching Jensen Randall, who's coming around very loose, is going to cross the start-finish in reverse. Yes, he wins. He completely loses it on turns 16 and 17, runs very wide, car goes 180 degrees in the wrong direction. So some style points finish for Jensen Randall as he does it in reverse, as we try and recover from the very strange disqualification to Sandro Dulis.
Meanwhile, Oleski was not able to break that 3-second gap, so Tim Benting is currently holding on to a podium position. Eric up into 5th. a great run for him. Borbune, we know, is trying to snatch the fastest lap of this race. Oh, and he's running very wide there.
We'll see. He's going to keep it tight on the inside. Well, he gets a purple sector 3, but does not get the fastest lap.
Meanwhile, Juan Rivas is coming through the final sector now. Yeah, I'm in shock of Sandro Duilius. If that is actually the case, that is a very uncharacteristic mistake on Sandro's part. He is usually a very detail-oriented driver when it comes to stuff like that. If he made the mistake of not swapping tire compounds, I would be really surprised as we see Dion Stahl come across the line. He's going to lose the position out to Ivan Brito because of the timing penalties. 5-second timing penalty that was unserved. Dion's going to lose another spot to Jesper Lempinen. But looks like he is going to finish in the points. So Ferrari gets at least 1 point today.
Yeah, the same race you mentioned, that Sandro's DNF ratio is quite good. We get one of the strangest disqualifications I think we could possibly have seen.
Meanwhile, Nick Van Gelder comes across the line, missing a front wing, basically a lap down, and the rain starts to fall here at the very last second of this race. So, driver of the day, Jensen Randall, started from last, goes to first. I'm actually going to give my driver of the day to Eric. Really good race today by him. Wasn't able to set a qualifying time because of a qualifying ban. Managed to make his way into fifth with no timing penalties. That seems to be the big thing today.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. For me, it's Eric Helgersman too. I mean, no if it's Jensen Randall, but at a certain point, you know, at least maybe it's an American thing where we like the underdog, and it's hard to give every award to Jensen Randall.
Now, I am getting a message on my channel here from the SRL channel that it is a glitch. I'm assuming they're referring to Sandro's ban or disqualification. It says that it's just a glitch and Sandro will keep the P5 position.
Yeah,
so,
we can definitely check the race director here as I've got it up, and it's just very strange. Where is Sandro Duilius on here? Yeah, he pitted on lap 17 from mediums to hard compounds, so very strange. But if you'd like to vote for your own driver of the day, the SRL Instagram will have that up active for a few hours today. Plenty of drivers to choose from. I mean, if you kept it clean without penalties, you had a good shot at some good points today.
So unofficially, and if we put Sandro back into fifth, we've got Jensen Randall as your winner, Nicola Falzaresi is second, Tim Ventic holds on to third, Oleski is fourth, Sandro would be fifth, Eric would be sixth, Borbune seventh, Juan Rivas is eighth, Ivan Brito ninth, Jesper Lempinen would be 10th, and that would knock out Dion Stahl from the points. So, bit of a wild finish. And a bit of a confusing one. That's the first time I've seen that glitch in any of the F1 games from Codemasters. And I know that they've had their issues, but I've never seen it for a disqualification like that.
Yeah, I've certainly heard about it, but didn't expect to see it. Hopefully next week for round 21 in Miami, we'll be able to avoid that. But in the meantime, you can follow SRL on Instagram. We'll be live here next week. Check out the highlights of this race, which will be posted on Wednesday. And yeah, we're in the home stretch here. 3 more rounds to go.
Yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to the YouTube channel for SRL. Check them out online and on Instagram. And yeah, round 21 coming to you next week. This was round 20. Season 9, F1 23 on the PS platform. Appreciate everybody dropping in, watching. We will see everybody in the next round.